Progress of the War, Part 1. The First World War, also known as the Great War, was one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. It began in 1914 and lasted until 1918, with millions of lives lost and entire nations left devastated. In this video, we will explore the early years of the war, from the opening hostilities to the onset of trench warfare. In the early days of the war, there was confusion among the Central Powers, particularly around the strategy for invading Serbia. The miscommunication between Germany and Austria Hungary forced the Austro Hungarian Army to divide its forces between the Russian and Serbian fronts. The Serbian campaign saw the first use of anti-aircraft warfare and medical evacuation by the Serbian army. On the Western Front, the German offensive in Belgium and France was initially successful, and the Allies suffered heavy casualties. However, the Allied forces exploited a gap in the German armies and halted their advance at the First Battle of the Marne. Both sides struggled to develop tactics to breach entrenched positions and were forced into a stalemate. On the seas, the Royal Navy of Great Britain launched a successful naval blockade against Germany, which eventually forced the bulk of the German surface fleet to remain in port throughout the war. The German U-boats tried to cut the supply lines between North America and Britain with some early successes. However, the introduction of convoy systems and new freighters slowed the flow of supplies and lessened the U-boat threat. The Western Front eventually became entrenched warfare, with both sides developing new offensive weapons such as gas warfare and tanks. The Somme offensive caused an estimated 420,000 British casualties, along with 200,000 French and 500,000 German. The Battle of Verdun became a symbol of French determination and self-sacrifice. African campaigns saw the British, French, and German colonial forces clash in Togoland and Cameroon. The German colonial forces in East Africa, led by Colonel Paul von Lettow-Vorbeck, fought a guerrilla warfare campaign and only surrendered 2 weeks after the war ended in Europe. The British Indian Army mobilized over 1.3 million soldiers and laborers during the war and contributed significantly to the Allied war effort. The suffering and disillusionment engendered by the war among Indians and failure of the British government to grant self-government to India after the end of hostilities bred the campaign for full independence led by Mahatma Gandhi. Despite the early successes for some of the Central Powers, the war would continue for several more years, with devastating consequences for the world. As we remember the sacrifices made during the Great War, may we never forget the lessons learned from it.